What if the quietest move of the week is actually the loudest signal about where this offense is going? What if the thing nobody is talking about isn't a splashy trade or a headline name, but a trench decision that tells you exactly how Ben Johnson plans to protect Jared Goff, unlock Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and bully the NFC North when games tighten in the wind? And what if the key isn't a guard or a gadget, but a long, flexible bookend with a tackle-eligible badge and a past life paving the way for one of our stars? You feel that? That's urgency, because in Detroit, the season always gets decided on third and short, in the red zone, in the mud where schemes meet will. Here's my promise if you stick with me. I'm going to show you the chessboard Ben Johnson is setting up that most people are missing. We're going to talk about why a depth tackle move is actually a philosophy shift, why 6-0L personnel is coming back with a vengeance, how this tweaks the spacing for Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown, what it means for play action and sprint protection, and why special teams and practice squad rules matter more than you think. By the middle of this video, I'll give you the name, the resume, and exactly how he fits. After that, I'll be crystal clear on what's fact and what's speculation. Then I'll close with my take, no hedging, just what I'd do if I were in Allen Park this week. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report if you bleed, Honolulu Blue, and want the real stuff that moves the scoreboard. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and ring that bell. This community calls it out early and rides it late. All right, let's start with the context nobody can ignore. You lost your third offensive tackle for the season. That's not just a depth note. That's stress on a position room that drives our identity. Detroit wins because the offensive line is the tone setter. Penei Sewell erases edges. Taylor Decker stabilizes the blind side. Frank Ragnow conducts in the phone booth, and the guards bring them all. When you take away the next man up at tackle, you don't just lose insurance, you lose the freedom to lean into the heaviest parts of your playbook. Ben Johnson's superpower is optionality, shifting from wide zone to gap, from pin and pull to duo, from empty to 13 personnel without tipping his hand. That requires swing tackle depth that can survive a Sunday and a sixth lineman who can function as a PA. Tight end without breaking the formation math. Now, zoom out to the game. Situations where Detroit separated the last 2 years. 4-minute offense to close, low red zone on the road. And gotta have it third downs, where defenses heat you up with wide 9 south and simulated pressures. When you've got a willing sixth lineman, the play menu gets bigger and safer at the same time. You can protect with 7 and a chip and still release 3 threats. You can steal the C-gap on toss crack and then hit the over route behind it. You can go tackle over, make a defense check calls on the fly, and run duo at a tilted front until they tap out. The point is, the 6-0L isn't a band-aid, it's leverage. It lets Ben protect the QB and bully the edges without sacrificing explosiveness, which brings us to the move almost nobody is framing correctly. Detroit didn't just grab a body. They hunted a specific archetype, length, two-sided experience, and enough foot speed to survive in space on boots and screens. This is about rebuilding the sixth lineman package, reestablishing true swing depth. And this is the quiet part, getting a tackle who has actually blocked for Jahmyr Gibbs before, in an offense that asked him to pull, climb, and redirect linebackers at angles. Here's the reveal you've been waiting for. The Lions have brought in offensive tackle Devin Cochran to the practice squad. He's 6'7", around 310, and he just finished a late-season run with Cincinnati, where he logged 152 snaps split between left and right tackle. Before that, he came out of Georgia Tech as a 2022 undrafted free agent, the same program and era where he helped pay for Jahmyr Gibbs and crossed paths with Tasher Choice. Who knows exactly what kind of edge seal and second-level path Gibbs prefers? The roster mechanics are still sorting practice squad today. Game day elevation path available, but the intent is loud if you know what to listen for. Ben Johnson is rebuilding the heavy packages and protecting his play-action teeth. Why Cochran specifically? Start with length and mirror. At 6'7", he gives you real wingspan to widen rushers on true dropback. But what pops on tape is the willingness to flip sides. A lot of young tackles lose their base when they change posts. Cochran at least keeps the frame square enough to land inside hand first and ride a speed rush past 9. That matters in a 6-lineman world where you might be tight to the line 1 snap and flex into another the next. Second, the Georgia Tech tie isn't trivia. Gibbs is a tempo back you can run zone to a landmark or gap schemes to a crease. But the key is that the play side tackle must arrive on time with his hips in front. Cochran's angles in that system translate to the way Johnson likes to torch nickel fronts. Pin with the tay, pull the tackle, and force a forced player to choose wrong. Third, late-season Bengals reps gave him live bullets against NFL speed. Was it perfect? No, but splitting sides without disaster is a green flag for a swing roll. Now, the Ben Johnson piece, the thing nobody's spelling out. The Lions' pass game loves big illusions. Same formation, different picture after the snap. When the 6th lineman comes on, most defenses scream, "Run." Johnson counters by calling keepers and double moves off heavy looks. A tackle who can sell run footwork, then anchor a 7-man pocket while Laporta and Yamo push vertically, is worth his weight in first downs. Add in sprint protection to Goff's throwing hand where the extra tackle becomes the moving wall, and you can call the deep comeback and the over-the-top post with the clock in your favor. The red zone piece is even simpler. Attach Cochran as eligible, motion the tight end across, run duo twice, and then leak the tackle tay into the flat when the safety cheats. It's stealing if the operation is clean. Let's separate the ledger facts versus speculation so we keep it honest. Facts. Detroit lost its 3rd offensive tackle for the year. The Lions added Devin Cochran to the building via the practice squad, agent announced. Cochran has NFL snaps at both tackle spots, 152 last season, and he's a long 6'7" athlete from Georgia Tech who once blocked for Jahmyr Gibbs in college alongside a coach who knows his tendencies. It's also fact that practice squad elevations give Detroit up to 3 game day looks without a 53-man commitment. Speculation that Ben Johnson will emphasize 6OL eligible packages more over the next month. That Cochran will be the preferred elevation in those packages. That Detroit will lean into tackle over and pin pull to stress nickel. That Cochran's 2-sided comfort will speed his activation timeline. I'm telling you why those dots connect. Not claiming they're printed in the playbook in Sharpie dot. So what does it change for the stars? For Amon-Ra St. Brown, heavy personnel means cleaner in-breakers off play-action linebackers step downhill. Windows open at 8 to 12 yards. For Sam Laporta, the presence of a 6OL lets him release without as many inline chip assignments. He can go from helper to hunter faster, attacking seams and crossing faces on those glance-over combinations. For Jameson Williams, it's the green light to sell run, then rip through the second level on posts and deep overs when safeties are flat-footed. And for Gibbs-Mauney, it's merciless. Duo, toss crack. Counter GT, call it until they beg for nickel, and then throw over their heads. That's Johnson at his best. Same picture, different result. Make a defense wrong no matter what they choose. There's also a protection ripple I love. When defenses line up wide 9 and mug the A-gaps, you fight that 2 ways, slide and pray, or widen the edges so the quarterback can step up. A 6 lineman with real length lets you widen without sacrificing a route. With Cochran attached, you can build a 7-man wall and still leak Laporta late or run a backside leak concept to Gibbs in space. That's not conservative. That's calculated aggression. You're buying the shot with cheap insurance. Now, cautions, because this is still the NFL. Cochran's foot speed will get tested by ghost rushers who threaten outside and spin back through the B-gap. Hand timing matters. If his independent hands get lazy, long arm bull can roll him back into the mesh. The Lions can mitigate that by keeping his assignments simple early short edges, down blocks, pulls where his angle is the answer. Special teams will matter too. The more he contributes there, field goal unit, pat protection. The easier it is to justify elevations while the staff evaluates whether he's ready for a 53-man seat. Timeline? Practice week install of heavy packages, 1 to 2 calls early to test the operation. And if the mechanics are clean snap hold ID and no silly flags, you'll see the usage tick up when the weather turns and the margins tighten. Remember, Detroit doesn't need fireworks from a sixth lineman. They need solidarity. If Cochran gives them that, the downstream benefits make your stars shine brighter. Let's talk locker room message, because that matters on a team that prides itself on grit. Moves like this tell the room, no comfort zones. Jobs are earned in the dark, and the staff will spend capital on little edges that win big gains. Veterans respect that. The line room, especially, thrives on competition and clarity. Nobody is looking over their shoulder in panic. Decker, Ragnow, Sewell are pillars, but everyone feels the standard rise. That's how coaches like this one stay sharp in November. Okay, so is this move the move? No, but it's the kind of move that unlocks 3 or 4 other moves you can call on Sunday without changing personnel. That's why it matters more than the headline suggests. Ben Johnson isn't chasing a trick. He's buying optionality. He's making sure that when it's 3rd and 2 on the road, and the whole building knows the ball is coming downhill behind, 58 and 70, Detroit can still do it, and then fake it the next drive and throw the dagger off the same picture. Here's my opinion before we close. I love it for what it signals. Keep Cochran on the practice squad, elevate him when the plan calls for a heavier day, and use those reps to build the 6-0L package back into a real weapon. Don't rush a 53-man decision. Let the tape and the operation decide. If he handles the edges, keeps his hands disciplined, and proves he can flip sides without losing balance, you fortified the one part of this roster that must be overbuilt if Detroit is going where we all know it can go. And if it clicks, the thing nobody is talking about today becomes the thing opponents can't stop talking about in December. Drop your thoughts below, Lions fans. If you're riding with the vision, smash that subscribe. This is Lions News Fan Report, and we'll be right here when the little details turn into big wins.